In the quiet farmlands of early 1800s Tennessee, something dark and sinister entered the Bell family home. It started subtly, soft scratching behind the walls, faint tapping on floors, and whispers that seemed to drift from nowhere. At first, the Bells thought it was the wind, or perhaps wild animals, but soon the disturbances became impossible to ignore. Beds shook violently at night, objects moved on their own, and red marks appeared on the children as if scratched by invisible claws. Visitors and neighbors reported similar phenomena: slaps, pinches, and eerie voices mocking their every move. Then, one night, the entity revealed itself, introducing the name Kate. Unlike any ordinary spirit, Kate displayed intelligence, malice, and purpose. She could speak, predict events, and attack with terrifying precision. The Bell family soon realized they were no longer alone. This was not just a haunting, it was a force determined to torment, manipulate, and leave an indelible mark on history. The Bell Witch haunting is one of the most documented and chilling supernatural events in American history. In 1817, the Bell family, simple farmers living in Adams, Tennessee, began experiencing unexplained activity that escalated over time. Doors slammed, floors shook, beds rocked violently, and objects flew through the air. The disturbances were not random. They displayed intelligence, as if the entity were aware of every action and every word the family spoke. Soon, the voice introduced itself as Kate, a malicious spirit with a relentless focus on John Bell and his daughter Betsy. She mocked, threatened, and physically attacked them, often leaving visible marks on their bodies. Local pastors, neighbors, and visitors all bore witness to her terrifying presence, confirming that this was no ordinary haunting. Over time, the Bell Witch became more than a legend. She became a story of fear, mystery, and unanswered questions that has persisted for over 2 centuries, leaving an indelible mark on folklore and history. The haunting of the Bell family began subtly in 1817 in Adams, Tennessee. At first, it was small noises, rustling in the walls, footsteps on the porch, and faint scratches in the floors. The family initially dismissed them as animals or imagination, but the activity quickly grew more deliberate and threatening. Doors rattled violently, beds shook while the children slept, and objects moved without explanation. Red marks appeared on the children's bodies as if scratched by unseen hands. The disturbances seemed purposeful, reacting to the family's actions when they prayed. The sounds intensified. When John Bell investigated, the noises shifted elsewhere. Soon, it was clear that this was no ordinary haunting. Something intelligent and malicious had entered their home, a force that observed, manipulated, and terrorized. The family's fear grew daily, and neighbors began to notice strange activity as well. What started as subtle disturbances escalated into a relentless presence, making it impossible for the Bells to ignore or dismiss. This was only the beginning of a haunting that would leave an indelible mark on American folklore. The entity escalated when it began speaking. At first, it whispered faintly, almost imperceptibly, but over time, the words became clear. One night, the voice introduced itself as Kate, a spirit that would come to be known as the Bell Witch. Kate displayed intelligence and cunning, answering questions instantly, repeating prayers and hymns perfectly, and mimicking voices and accents with frightening precision. Visitors to the Bell home were often slapped, scratched, or pushed by invisible forces, and Kate would repeat their private conversations, demonstrating awareness of their every move. She laughed during meals, cried during prayer, and performed strange songs at night. Kate's actions were deliberate and calculated, not random or chaotic. The Bell family realized they were dealing with an entity that could think, act, and plan with malicious intent. Every encounter left them more terrified, and it became clear that Kate had chosen her victims and was determined to torment them. The witch was no ordinary ghost. She was intelligent, cruel, and unstoppable. Betsy Bell became the primary focus of the witch's fury. The attacks on her were both physical and psychological. Her hair was yanked. Beds shook violently. Scratches appeared on her arms, and invisible hands slapped or pushed her. When she announced her engagement to Joshua Gardner, the witch's rage escalated. Kate screamed, threatened, and caused disturbances whenever Betsy and Joshua were together. Stones flew, loud howls echoed through the night, and Betsy often collapsed under invisible pressure. The family tried to protect her with prayers, spiritual remedies, and visits from pastors. But Kate's grip remained unbroken. Betsy suffered panic attacks, exhaustion, and nightmares, and eventually, she ended her engagement, seemingly giving in to the witch's demands. Kate's obsession with Betsy revealed the witch's intelligence and intent, but her ultimate target was John Bell. The attacks on Betsy were only a prelude to the darkness that would consume the head of the family, proving that Kate's malice extended far beyond cruelty or obsession. John Bell, the family patriarch, became the main target of the witch's wrath. Kate verbally mocked him, threatened his life, and displayed an unnerving focus on his fate. John's health deteriorated rapidly. He suffered paralysis, violent shaking, numbness, and episodes where he could not speak or move. Doctors were baffled, as no known illness explained his condition. Kate openly declared her intention to kill him, and in December 1820, John fell into a coma. A mysterious vial containing dark liquid was found, and Kate boasted of administering it. He died the next morning, with witnesses claiming they heard Kate laughing during the funeral. Whether it was supernatural murder or coincidence remains debated, but the alignment of timing, symptoms, and Kate's own statements is chilling. After John's death, the witch's activity decreased, yet she left a lingering presence, promising she would return. Her threat and influence ensured that the Bell family and their story would remain etched in the history of American hauntings, the legend of the Bell Witch endured long after the deaths and disappearances. Kate made a brief return 7 years later, visiting John Bell Jr., speaking about philosophy, the supernatural, and life before vanishing once more. Locals continued to report strange phenomena: whispers, rocks moving without cause, shadows near the Bell Witch Cave. Authors, historians, and paranormal investigators documented the story, keeping it alive for generations. Was Kate a spirit, a demon, or an expression of fear? No one can say for sure, yet the detailed accounts lend her story remarkable credibility. Today, visitors report feeling watched, sensing a presence in the cave, and experiencing unexplained activity. The Bell Witch has become more than a haunting. She is a symbol of terror, mystery, and the unknown. Her story reminds us that some forces are patient, intelligent, and eternal, leaving a mark on history and memory that cannot easily fade. The tale of the Bell Witch does not end with John Bell's death or her temporary disappearance. Over 2 centuries later, her legend continues to haunt the forests and fields of Adams, Tennessee. Visitors to the old Bell property and the Bell Witch Cave report whispers in the wind, sudden chills, rocks moving without cause, and shadows that seem alive. Skeptics may call it superstition, but the sheer number of detailed eyewitness accounts makes the story difficult to dismiss. Kate's intelligence, cruelty, and apparent ability to interact with the physical world set her apart from ordinary ghost stories, leaving a lasting mark on American folklore. Whether a spirit, demon, or psychic manifestation, the Bell Witch endures as a symbol of the unknown, a reminder of the thin line between reality and the supernatural. Over 2 centuries later, she remains patient, watching, and waiting, ensuring that her legend and her terror will never fade from memory.